Something just surfaced involving the Chicago Sky. And it's got the entire WNBA talking. At the center of the storm, Angel Reese. New discussions about her role, value, and how the team views her are starting to circulate, and fans are reacting fast. But what really ignited the debate was how quickly the conversation turned into comparisons with Caitlin Clark. Because now, this isn't just about one player. It's about perception, about expectations, and about how rising stars are judged in a league that's growing faster than ever. So, what's really going on behind the scenes? And why is this turning into one of the most talked about moments right now? Let's break it all down. The moment this narrative started circulating, it didn't just stay contained. It spread fast across social media, fan discussions, and in basketball communities, turning into something much bigger than anyone expected. Because when a situation involves the Chicago Sky and a high-profile player like Angel Reese, people pay attention immediately. But here's the key detail. Because nothing officially confirmed any dramatic internal decision. No clear statement, no direct announcement. And yet, the conversation exploded anyway. Why? Because perception doesn't need confirmation to grow. It builds through interpretation, through small details, through moments that fans connect together into a larger story. And that's exactly what happened here. Fans began analyzing everything: her minutes on the court, her role within the system, her overall impact compared to expectations, trying to piece together what they believed was happening behind the scenes. And once that process starts, it's almost impossible to stop, because every detail becomes part of the narrative. Every game becomes evidence. Every performance gets interpreted through the same lens. But here's where things took a major turn, because it didn't take long before the comparison started. The comparison that always drives engagement. Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark. And once that entered the conversation, everything escalated. Because Caitlin Clark represents something very specific in today's WNBA: visibility, attention, a level of spotlight that has transformed how the league is being viewed. So, when Reese's situation became a topic, fans naturally measured it against Clark's rise. Not because the situations are identical, but because comparison creates a clear narrative. And narratives are what people engage with. And that's where the phrase started gaining traction. She's no Caitlin Clark. Not an official statement, not something confirmed by the team, but something repeated enough to become part of the conversation. And that's important, because repetition creates perception, and perception shapes reality in the eyes of fans. Meanwhile, Angel Reese remains a major presence in the league, a player with her own impact, her own style, her own connection with fans. But in moments like this, individual identity can get overshadowed, because the narrative becomes dominant. And once a narrative takes control, everything gets filtered through it. But here's the deeper layer to all of this. Because this situation isn't just about Reese, it's about how teams operate in a rapidly evolving league, how they evaluate players, see how they balance performance with long-term strategy. Because in professional sports, decisions are rarely simple. They're influenced by multiple factors: performance, fit, team chemistry, future planning, and sometimes even factors that fans never see, that happen entirely behind the scenes. But when those decisions aren't fully visible, they leave space for speculation. And speculation is exactly what fuels moments like this. Meanwhile, the WNBA itself is in a unique position, growing faster than ever before, reaching new audiences, gaining levels of attention that didn't exist just a few years ago. And with that growth comes something else: scrutiny. More eyes on every decision, more analysis of every situation, more debate around every player. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. A moment where perception, comparison, and expectation all collide. But here's the key takeaway. Because while the narrative feels intense, it's not necessarily the full picture. It's one version of events, shaped by interpretation, amplified by repetition, and driven by engagement. And that's what makes this moment so powerful. Because it's not just about what's happening. It's about how it's being understood, and how that understanding is shaping the conversation around the league. But even with all of this, there's still much more to unfold. Because once reactions take over, the story only gets bigger from here. As the narrative kept gaining traction, something important started to happen. The conversation shifted from what people heard to what people believed. And that's where everything intensified. Because belief is powerful. Once fans start believing a story, they don't just follow it, they build on it, add to it, expand it into something bigger than it originally was. And that's exactly what happened with the situation involving the Chicago Sky and Angel Reese. Because now, it wasn't just about a rumor or speculation anymore, it became a narrative about value, about how players are viewed internally versus externally, about what teams prioritize when making decisions. And once that kind of narrative forms, it pulls everyone in. Fans, analysts, content creators, all trying to interpret what's really happening behind the scenes. Meanwhile, one theme kept repeating itself: comparison. Because as the conversation grew, it kept circling back to Caitlin Clark, not because she was directly involved, but because she represents the standard fans are now using to measure impact. And that's where things become complicated, because Clark's rise isn't just about performance. It's about visibility, the attention she brings, the way she has expanded the audience for women's basketball. And that kind of impact is rare. So when fans look at other players, including Reese, they naturally compare, even when the situations are completely different. But here's the key issue. Because comparison simplifies reality, it turns complex situations into simple conclusions. She's better. She's more valuable. She deserves more. And those conclusions spread quickly, even if they don't tell the full story. Meanwhile, Angel Reese's situation continued to be interpreted through that lens. Her role on the team, her performances, her development as a player, all of it analyzed not just on its own, but in comparison to someone else. And that's where the narrative becomes limiting, because it reduces individual identity. It shifts focus away from what a player brings and toward how they compare. But here's where things get even more interesting. Because while fans are focused on comparison, teams are focused on something completely different: fit, strategy, long-term planning. Because in professional sports, decisions aren't made in isolation. They're made within a system that includes coaching philosophy, roster balance, development timelines, and those factors aren't always visible to the public, which creates a gap between what fans see and what teams actually consider. And that gap is where speculation grows, because when people don't have full information, they fill in the blanks themselves. Meanwhile, the WNBA is experiencing something that comes with rapid growth: increased attention. And with that attention comes increased scrutiny, because now every situation is analyzed more closely. Every decision is questioned. Every narrative is amplified. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. But here's the important part. Because while the conversation feels intense, it's also a sign of something positive: growth. Because people don't debate this much unless they care, unless they're invested, unless the game means something to them. And right now, the WNBA is reaching that level, where every storyline matters, where every player is part of a larger conversation. But that also creates challenges, because the league has to balance that attention, ensure that narratives don't overshadow reality, might ensure that comparisons don't limit how players are viewed. And that's not easy, especially in a media environment where speed matters more than depth, where quick takes spread faster than full analysis. But here's where everything starts to shift again. Because as the narrative continues, something inevitable begins to happen: expectation. Fans start looking ahead, not just discussing what's been said, but wondering what comes next. How will Angel Reese respond? How will the Chicago Sky handle the situation moving forward? Will the narrative change based on performance, or will it continue to grow? These are the questions that start to take over. Because once a story reaches this level, it can't stay in the past. It has to move forward, into the next game, the next performance, the next moment where everything gets tested. And that's exactly where this story is heading. By now, the narrative has completely taken over. What started as speculation has evolved into something much bigger: a full-scale storyline that's shaping how fans view the Chicago Sky, Angel Reese, and even the direction of the WNBA itself. Because once a story reaches this level, it doesn't just stay in one place. It spreads across platforms, across fan bases, across every corner of the basketball world. And as it spreads, it evolves. New opinions get added, new angles get introduced, new interpretations reshape the original idea. And that's exactly what we're seeing now, because this isn't just one narrative anymore. It's multiple narratives layered on top of each other. Some focused on performance, others focused on perception, others focused on comparison. And all of them intersect at the same point, Angel Reese. But here's the key detail, because while she's at the center of the conversation, she's not controlling it. And that's what makes this situation so complex. Because narratives in sports are rarely controlled by players themselves. They're shaped externally, by fans, by media, by social platforms. And once they take off, they become difficult to contain. Meanwhile, the comparison to Caitlin Clark continues to influence everything, even when it's not directly mentioned. Because once a comparison becomes part of the narrative, it becomes the lens through which everything is viewed. Every performance, every decision, every moment on the court, all of it gets interpreted through that comparison. And that creates pressure, real pressure, because now, it's not just about playing the game, it's about responding to a narrative that exists beyond the game. And that's not easy. But it's also where opportunity exists, because in sports, narratives can change quickly, with one performance, one game, one moment that shifts everything. And that's where this story becomes even more interesting. Because while the narrative feels dominant right now, it's not permanent. It's waiting to be challenged, to be reshaped, to be redefined by what happens next. Meanwhile, fans are more engaged than ever, not just watching games, but following the storyline, analyzing every detail, looking for signs that confirm or challenge what they believe. And that level of engagement, it's powerful, because it keeps the conversation alive. It keeps the league in the spotlight. It keeps players at the center of attention. But it also raises expectations, because now every moment matters more. Every performance carries more weight. Every outcome feels like part of a larger story. And that's where things become challenging. Because expectations aren't always realistic, they're shaped by perception, by what fans want to see, not always by what actually happens. And that gap between expectation and reality, that's where pressure builds. But here's where everything starts to connect. Because while the narrative is focused on Reese and Clark, the bigger story is about the league itself, about how the WNBA is evolving, how it's handling this new level of attention, how it's managing multiple star players in the spotlight at the same time. Because that's not easy. Balancing attention, ensuring that one narrative doesn't overshadow everything else, maintaining focus on the game while still embracing the engagement that comes with these conversations. That's the challenge, and that's exactly what the league is navigating right now. Meanwhile, players continue competing through all of this. Through the noise, through the comparisons, through the constant attention on everything they do. And that's where the real story lives. On the court. In the moments that don't get filtered through narrative. In the performances that speak for themselves. Because at the end of the day, that's what defines everything. Not the headlines, not the speculation, not even the comparisons, just the game. But here's the turning point. Because as the narrative reaches its peak, it can't stay there forever. It has to move forward. I'm into something new, into the next phase. And that phase is already beginning. The phase where speculation turns into expectation, and expectation turns into outcome. Now everything comes down to one thing: response. Because after all the speculation, after all the comparisons, after the narrative has taken over the conversation, the only thing left that truly matters is what happens next, on the court, in real time. Because no matter how strong a narrative becomes, it can't survive without performance behind it. And it can't last if performance proves it wrong. That's the reality of sports. Meanwhile, Angel Reese now finds herself in a position that very few players experience this early in their career, a position where every move is being watched, every stat is being analyzed, every game is being framed as part of a bigger story. And that kind of spotlight changes everything. Because now, it's not just about playing well, it's about proving something. Proving that the narrative doesn't define reality. Proving that value can't be reduced to comparison. Proving that impact goes beyond what people are saying. And that's not easy. Because pressure like this doesn't come from one direction. It comes from everywhere. Fans, media, social platforms, all reacting in real time, all forming opinions based on every moment. And that creates a unique challenge because performance is no longer just about the game, it's about perception, how each play is interpreted, how each game fits into the larger story. And that adds weight to everything. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark continues to operate under her own version of that spotlight. Because while the narrative compares the two, her expectations are just as intense. Every game she plays is measured against the attention she brings, against the hype, against the idea that she represents a new level of visibility for the league. And that creates pressure as well, because now she has to deliver consistently, not just for herself, but for the narrative that surrounds her. And that's what makes this situation so compelling, because both players are under pressure, but for different reasons. Reese is expected to challenge the narrative. Clark is expected to justify it. And that creates a dynamic that drives the entire conversation forward. Meanwhile, the Chicago Sky is also part of this moment, because team decisions, real or perceived, are now being analyzed more closely than ever. Fans are watching rotations, minutes, eye rolls within the system, trying to understand how everything fits together. And that adds another layer of pressure, because now it's not just players being evaluated, it's the system itself, the strategy, the direction of the team. And that's not something teams usually face at this level of intensity, but it's part of the league's growth. More attention, more scrutiny, more people invested in every detail. But here's the key point. Because while all of this is happening, the foundation hasn't changed. The game itself still defines everything. Not the headlines, not the debates, not even the narratives. Just performance, execution, results. And that's where everything comes back to. Meanwhile, fans are fully engaged, not just watching games, but following the story, looking at each performance as part of the larger narrative, in trying to understand what's real and what was just perception. And that's what makes this phase so important, because this is where everything starts to separate. The narrative from the reality, the speculation from the truth, and that separation defines what happens next. But here's where things get even more interesting, because moments like this don't just impact the present, they shape the future. How players are viewed long-term, how teams make decisions moving forward, how the league evolves in response to this level of attention. And that's what makes this more than just a storyline. It's a turning point, a moment where everything is being tested at once. Players, teams, the league itself, and how they respond will determine what comes next. But even with all of that, there's still one final piece left. Because beyond the pressure, beyond the performance, beyond the narrative, there's one question that defines everything. What does this moment become? At the end of everything, after the rumors, after the comparisons, after the narrative spread across the entire basketball world, we're left with something much bigger than just one situation. We're left with a turning point. Because what started as speculation involving the Chicago Sky and Angel Reese has evolved into a reflection of where the WNBA stands today. A league in transition, a league growing rapidly, and a league stepping into a new level of visibility that brings both opportunity and pressure. At the center of that moment, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Two players, two different paths, two different types of impact shaping the game at the same time. And when those paths intersect, the conversation naturally intensifies. But here's the key truth. Because beyond the narrative, beyond the comparisons, beyond everything being said, the foundation of the game hasn't changed. Performance still decides everything. Not headlines, not speculation, not social media debates, just the game. And that's what ultimately defines how this moment will be remembered. Meanwhile, the impact of this situation is already clear. More people are watching. More people are engaged. More people are invested in what happens next. And that's what makes this a turning point. Because moments like this don't just create attention, they build momentum. Momentum that carries into future games, future storylines, future opportunities for the league to grow even further. Yeah, but here's where things get even more important. Because with that momentum comes responsibility. Responsibility for players to perform under pressure. Responsibility for teams to make decisions that balance short-term success with long-term growth. Responsibility for the league to manage attention in a way that strengthens the game, not divides it. And that's not easy, but it's necessary. Meanwhile, Angel Reese continues moving forward within this spotlight, competing, performing, navigating a level of scrutiny that few players experience this early. And that's both a challenge and an opportunity to redefine the narrative, to show that value isn't determined by comparison, to prove that impact comes in different forms. At the same time, Caitlin Clark continues to operate within her own spotlight, carrying expectations, all driving attention, representing a new level of visibility for the league, and that creates a unique dynamic, because both players are shaping the conversation, just in different ways. And that's what makes this moment so powerful, because it's not about one replacing the other, it's about multiple players pushing the game forward at the same time. But here's the final takeaway, because when everything settles, when the debates slow down, when the headlines move on, this moment will be remembered for one thing: impact. The impact it had on the conversation, the impact it had on how players are viewed, the impact it had on the direction of the league moving forward. Because moments like this don't disappear. They leave a mark, they shape perception, they influence what comes next. And that's exactly what this has done. When it has pushed the WNBA into a new level of attention, a new level of discussion, a new phase where everything matters more. And that's a powerful place to be, because with attention comes opportunity. Opportunity to grow, to improve, to build something stronger for the future, but only if it's handled the right way. And that's where everything comes together, right here, at the intersection of pressure, opportunity, and change. And if this moment is any indication, the next chapter won't just continue the story, it will redefine it completely. So, what do you think about this entire situation? Is Angel Reese being judged too harshly by the narrative? Or is this just the reality of competing in a league where attention and performance both matter? And how does Caitlin Clark's rise change the expectations for everyone in the WNBA? Now drop your thoughts in the comments right now, because this debate is only getting bigger. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the biggest stories in basketball. We're covering everything, from player rivalries to behind-the-scenes decisions and the truth behind the headlines. Share this video with your friends, and let's see who really understands what's happening beyond the surface. Because in today's game, it's not just about talent, it's about how the story is told. Hashtag Angel Reese, hashtag Caitlin Clark, hashtag Chicago Sky, hashtag WNBA, hashtag basketball debate, hashtag WNB, a news hashtag women in sports, hashtag sports drama, hashtag basketball talk, hashtag viral sports at WNBA, at Chicago Sky, at ESPN, at Bleacher Report at SportsCenter.